Hi, everyone. Harry here to talk about the Thursday night massacre and really the Thursday, Friday massacre at the Department of Justice, involving the really brutish tactics to force career professionals there to file a motion to dismiss the charges against New York Mayor Eric Adams. All right. I've written a long Substack about this today. I think I recommend you check it out. I did last week as well. Everyone knows the basic facts at this point, but more things happened that we weren't aware of when I did a YouTube on this Friday that are pretty important. First, I really want to say there's never been anything like this in the DOJ. Never had a people come in and try to really boss lawyers around, but that very much understates it, because what happened here, as most people know at this point, was a back and forth where they told the acting U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York to dismiss charges against the mayor, but not because of any flaw in the facts or the law. They were a little bit inconsistent in what they did say. There was a suggestion, we're so close to the election. It's 9 months away. There's a suggestion, a pretty strong one, that we want the mayor to really help us with immigration and can't do that if he's being charged with these crimes. That seems to have been what they were thinking of, that, and just, I think, Trump's desire to try to show weaponization infected different prosecutions in the department, not just his, even a Democrat's. But this is, for anyone who knows how the DOJ works, it was an absolute outrageous demand. The DOJ, you hear it again and again, and it kind of goes in one ear out the other, but the DOJ operates on facts and law. If the facts and law are there, you should be prosecuting, except for weird reasons that wouldn't apply here. And if they're not, you shouldn't be. So what the acting Deputy Attorney General, Emile Beauvais, was saying is, dismiss these charges even though there's nothing wrong on the facts and the law. And that's just telling someone, an honorable, experienced prosecutor like Danielle Sassoon, the head of the New York office, to violate her oath and just everything that the department stands for. This is what it means to prosecute without fear or favor. You don't fear the high official, meaning if the case is solid against them, you go after, and you don't favor the high official by dismissing it. This is really exactly what was at the end of this Jack Smith report about the Trump prosecutions. These cases, the evidence was strong, the law was strong, we stand behind them. So the kind of arguments or really nasty accusations that the acting Deputy Attorney General was making, really, in essence, when they say, and Pam Bondi has been saying the same thing, you weaponize the Department of Justice, that's saying you brought cases not for the facts and the law. That is an outrageous charge that goes to the heart of the integrity of any prosecutor. It's a little hard to get your head around if you haven't been inculcated in how any good prosecutor's office works, but it is very, very, very fundamental. So much so, of course, that the acting U.S. attorney resigned. Two others have resigned with her. The Deputy Attorney General took the case said, we'll take it over from here, and then told people at Main Justice to dismiss it, and they resigned. We were up to about 6 resignations when I did my YouTube last Friday. And what happened after that is a mind-blowing episode where the acting Deputy Attorney General brought everybody into the room and said, somebody here's got to file this motion to dismiss. This motion that is basically a lie and a violation of their oaths. and you got to do it quickly. Oh, and he suggested there may be a promotion in it for the people who choose to do it. And he basically locked them in a room and said, somebody choose to dismiss. That is, when you stop and think about it, that kind of collective pressure on people where everyone's career is potentially on the line is just dastardly, deeply unethical. But the lawyers in there, and they are the lawyers of the public integrity unit in the department. Really, they're sort of the Navy SEALs of the place, the absolute most, everyone's upstanding there. If it's just a fact, the weaponization charge has always been complete, utter, total bullshit. But anyway, they're in there, and what do? And they were shell-shocked. They, as one said, I never thought this could happen in America. And finally, after going back and forth, someone very respected who is almost at the end of his career, you'll hear his name, but you'll recognize it for another reason, Ed Sullivan, of course not that Ed Sullivan, said, okay, guys, you know what? I'll do it. I'll file this motion. And people saw that as a really valorous act on his part, basically taking a huge one for the team, but having to file something that, makes it's an very fundamental violation of your oath, your duty of candor to the court, and the like. But he did it. And they had insisted they do it. Why didn't the Deputy Attorney General sign it himself, you might ask? Because he really wanted to force it to come, as it normally would, from somebody who would be working the case. You don't have a Deputy Attorney General normally. Of course, nothing about this was normal. So it's now been filed. The dirty deed has been done. But the law says that the judge working on the Adams case, has to accept the filing and find it's in the interests of justice. It's very tenuous at best for a judge to reject it. It's very hard. What happens even? I won't accept the dismissal. The DOJ is not going to go forward and prosecute it. There's sort of a theoretical basis that the judge could appoint someone to prosecute, but it's a big mess. But that doesn't mean that the judge can't carefully scrutinize the department to know what are the reasons here to find if it's in the interest of justice. And I think that means here there's a real possibility that not just Ed Sullivan, who stepped up, but Emile Beauvais, the Deputy Attorney General, and others involved. Danielle Sassoon will be called to the stand and asked about what happened. And they'll tell the truth, right? I think Ed Sullivan is in this terrible position, but he'll say, yes, I did it because they, totally coerced my entire section, and I was worried about them. In other words, not because I believe there was anything wrong with the case, not for the reasons one is supposed to. And we'll, Emile Beauvais, who is the real villain in this drama, I may try to resist being called to the stand, but if he does, what's he going to say? Because he has it. What's so vivid and dramatic about the episode is Beauvais already conceded that there's no problem with the facts of the law. And otherwise, he's conceded the Trump administrations, are the ones who are trying to do political prosecutions, and not the DOJ or the DOJ under Biden. So in this big rhetorical war for people, and everyone who knew the department knew this anyway, it was a lie, all these charges. Of course, the evidence was there against Trump. Of course, the law was there, and that means it's not politicized. And conversely, here, the new guys come in and they're saying dismiss it, even though the law and facts are there, and that means it is politicized. So it's really, on the one hand, a vivid demonstration of who's lying and who's telling the truth, but it's also just the brutality of it from the acting Deputy Attorney General, who's supposed to be supportive of the troops and be behind the DOJ. It's incredibly nasty and heavy-handed. So I don't see this as going away anytime soon. There's going to be this hearing, as I said. It may be that it doesn't completely capture the imagination of the American people. I'm not sure. It's surely captured the imagination of the entire Department of Justice community, including the alumni. There's thousands of people, writing a letter of support. All these former U.S. attorneys wrote support for Danielle Sassoon. It's really a morality play in which there's a clear villains really, and that's, Beauvais especially, but also Bondi and Trump. So this is sort of the Saturday Night Massacre on steroids in terms of what it did to the Department of Justice. And once it's beginning to be hollowed out and filled up with presumably Trump lackeys, it's going to have suffered horrific damage that, it's going to take a long time to repair. The whole thing is an utter tragedy, outrage, debacle. Talk to you later. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video and other Talking Feds content, please take a second to like and subscribe. Talk to you later.